Hi Aries, I've got my head down in your horoscope for October 2015. I'm Dadhichi from astrology.com.au, and if you just tuned in to what I've been talking about in the introduction, self-empowerment, I want to talk to you about that because you've had a pretty intense couple of years where Saturn has been moving through your 8th house in the sign of Scorpio, which is a double whammy in terms of self-regeneration, rebirth, and just working through all that weird subconscious stuff. And a lot of this stuff may not have been within your control. In fact, for the most part, Scorpio is that hidden, secretive sign of the zodiac. And we see now that just in the past few days, Saturn has moved out of there. Are you feeling a little bit better about that? You must be. It's a fairly intense and limiting sort of energy. Saturn is the planet that tends to, pardon me, obstruct, creates fear, creates constriction. It's that immobilizing force that causes you to doubt yourself and to wonder whether you can actually make it through a particular situation, a relationship, that type of thing. But we do see also now that you'll be challenged by the square aspect of the Sun to Pluto that takes place on the 7th. And that precedes the new moon, which is going to be in Libra. Sun in Libra through this period up until the 23rd or 24th. So relationships are going to definitely be part of this constrictive side of your nature too. And you know, Pluto is very, very compulsive, obsessive. It is really the factor that we've just said you've been released from in terms of Saturn's movement through that 8th house of the horoscope. Now, maybe, yes, we can breathe a sigh of relief, but this square aspect of the Sun to Pluto still leaves some vestiges of that there. You see a little bit of trace elements, if I could put it that way. So you need to be careful. And of course, you've got Mercury doing its retrograde dance in that 7th house, that relationship house as well. And that shows communication with your partner. That can be a business partner. It can be someone you love. For the time being, you may not love them that much with these sort of aspects taking place. But looking at the chart, it's nice to know, firstly, that aspect of the Sun will move fairly quickly. You've got some other aspects there too, up through the period of the 7th, the 9th. For example, you've got the opposition of your ruling planet Mars to Neptune, all through this period too, up to the 9th. Sorry, that's till the 7th, and then there'll still be a bit of a tail end to that. And that can immobilize you completely. In other words, you know what you want to do. And here we go again. This is what I was talking about as far as your self-empowerment, your free will is concerned. You will see that in your relationships, sometimes other people are calling the shots. Communication is missed. You don't hear something. That's all outside the realm of your control. You think you understand something, but in fact you don't. So then you have to do a revision. And that is exactly what this transit of Mercury and its retrogression is about. That hard square aspect between Sun and Pluto. It's all about relationships. And the fact that we have a new moon in that same sector on the 13th, I think is a pretty welcome second relief for you, because what that shows us is the opening or the opportunity to approach your relationships in a completely different manner. You have to look at them fairly and squarely, and you are prepared to commence this cycle with a whole new attitude, a whole new perspective if you have to. Now, whether or not the other person can, as I've been saying in my introduction and for many, many years, you don't particularly have control over what that person does. And often when that person acts in a certain way, there will be a reaction to that person. Or if you act in a certain way, that person reacts. But then there's this reaction to the reaction. And so that is what causes the problems in the relationship. So what I wanted to talk to you about, especially in this first week, is stepping back. Just get right back there. Relax. Just let go on what goes on. Then observe yourself within that relationship. Observe not just the other person's actions and reactions, but your own actions and reactions to what's going on in the relationship. That is the real commencement of self-empowerment, because then you'll start to see yourself objectively as you see the other person. That brings in, hopefully, in time, the realization that you are distinct from these patterns of behavior and what's going on in your relationships. We see here that Mercury goes into its forward motion around the 10th. So actually it's been in retrogression for a while. You've been going through this revision now, and it will actually move forward. So that's nice, because then it shows us just before that new moon, you do have the capacity to reorganize your thinking, to bring your partner on board, and to maybe make some headway there in terms of your communication. The square of Venus, that's the right angle of Venus to Saturn, takes place on the 11th. So this is still not letting up. Once Mercury goes forward, we see it needs a little bit of pickup time to give you the clarity that you require in your relationships. During that period, the Venus and the Saturn square will be cooling your affections and your emotions. We see Venus there in the sign of Leo, your 5th house of love affairs. But having that hard aspect from Saturn is less than desirable, even though Venus in this position normally makes you much more amorous. It could be that your attempts to engage another person or your affection is not reciprocated. That can be a bit annoying. So you'll have to grin and bear that. And as I've said, the technique here is just step back, just relax, just observe, do it without any sort of judgment, and see exactly what happens as a result of that way of perceiving things. There's a nice aspect that comes in to help you. One of your better planets, Jupiter, brings with it a lovely triangular energy leading up to the 12th. So that's going to counteract a lot of this other stuff. You need to maintain the optimism. And optimism can be there even if you're having a really, really hard time in your relationships. Because underlying that difficulty, you've got this notion that, hey, although this is really tough, I know something good's going to come out of this, and I can make this work. The opposition to Uranus on the 12th brings some unexpected circumstances, again, in that same 7th house of relationships. So it's all focused on this particular area. There are a few other aspects there which we see are vitally important. There's the transit of the ruling planet Mars to Jupiter. Now that is in your 6th house of work. So if we get onto the working circumstances in your life, this shows a bigger than life, larger than life sort of approach to what it is you're doing in your workplace now. And the fact that you want to expand your workplace activities, you want to do something bigger and better than other people, you need to be careful that you're not exaggerating or overestimating your abilities in that area. So you need to keep that realistic as well. Another nice aspect, again, related to your relationships, which I think is a focus this month and one that's going to help you springboard into that level of self-awareness and thereby empowering yourself through understanding, is the Venus aspect to Pluto, another triangular aspect there, which indicates that although you will be very focused on your relationships, you will be You'll be passionate and intense in the way you do it, but not in a negative way. And I think it's about that time that you can start to elicit the sort of response that you want from your partner. The Sun moves to Scorpio, the house of sexuality and regeneration, rebirth. That takes place on the 23rd. And at the same time, around the 26th, we see that Venus moving into the conjunction with Jupiter. So I'd be saying that there are moments of intimacy at this time and some sort of breakthrough happening for you as a result of that. Mercury will be moving forward. Sun will be moving out of that 7th house. You've now got Saturn out of your 8th house of Scorpio, which is a nice relief. And the full moon on the 27th, shifting things and mixing things up a little bit for you, taking place in the sign of Taurus, your 2nd house of finances and material affairs. And that's a very, very good placement for it because moon is exalted in the 2nd house in Taurus. So that's a lovely completion to the month around the 27th. There is another fine aspect there by the Sun to Neptune on the 31st, preceded just a little by the rather scatty Mercury opposite to Uranus. Be a little bit careful about your thinking. Even though it's a favourable aspect from the Sun to Neptune on the last day of the month, there's still a little bit of nebulousness around that, and you may be a bit too impulsive based upon information that's not clear. So that can apply to anything. So be careful of making decisions and maybe hold off until you've got more information. Hope that's helped. Again, keyword is self-empowerment. That's 2 words. I'd like to think you'd be here next month for a little bit more as we continue this. I'm not going to call it a soap opera. This is your life, though. And Aries, I hope you'll join me here. In the meantime, do visit my website, astrology.com.au. We've got lots of free stuff there, daily, monthly, yearly readings to put it all in context for you. Take care. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.